Hello everyone. If you come in, you can see the slide and be prepared for it. And last week we have talked about the introduction and just the beginning of the pharmacokinetics. Yeah, the first part is memory transport. Okay, if everyone can hear my voice. Now let's begin. Today we will talk about to discuss the pharmacokinetics and the in vivo course in process that is the pharmacokinetics. It includes four major processes. Yeah, let's review it: absorption, distribution, metabolism, and the accretion. Okay, and the first one. Before to talk about the full process, we have referred to this one, memory transport, passive and active transport. Okay, and I think if you can think about it, we will go on to talk about it. First one, let's see. According to the transporter, we can divide the memory transport into two major categories. First one, passive diffusion, and the next one, specialized transport. Passive diffusion means maybe sometime we can call it simple diffusion, that is no rely on the carrier. And the specialized transport, these two, like the facilitated diffusion and active transport, will need the carrier. Okay, and next one, according to the energy. First is passive transport, and the next one is active transport. Okay, and later I will talk it according to the energy. But here we have two major categories you should understand. First one is passive, and the next one is active. Passive means what? Means this transport have no energy. All the or maybe all the force is come from themselves, so no need the body supply the energy to complete the transport. But active transport, yeah, we know the transport need energy. Passive transport include two type. One is simple diffusion, and the next one is facilitated diffusion. Okay, let's go on. Passive transport. Yeah, what means passive transport? I have said it. Because the drug diffusion in the direction of its concentration gradient or the electrochemical potential energy, so there is no input of energy. Yeah, like the simple diffusion and like the facilitated diffusion. Okay, let's see the simple diffusion. And have two type. If the drug is lipid soluble, it can cross the membrane very easy. We call this diffusion is lipid diffusion. See here, lipid diffusion. Okay, and this lipid soluble drug can cross the membrane very easy and directly. And when the drug is water soluble, it's so hard to cross the membrane directly. It just crosses the membrane through the water pore between some members of some cells. Yeah, between the membrane, the water pore. This is water-soluble drug. It crosses the membrane according to a diffusion that called water soluble diffusion. Its another name is filtration. Okay, so simple diffusion have two types. One is lipid diffusion. This is suitable for the lipid soluble drug. Yeah, lipid soluble drug. And another type is water diffusion or water diffusion. Maybe aqueous diffusion. Its another name is filtration. And this diffusion is suitable for the water-soluble drug. Yeah, aqueous diffusion. Next one, see some factor that influence these two diffusion. For the lipid diffusion, this is the mechanism of diffusion that suitable for the most, you can see, the most popular diffusions. And the most majority of drugs that is lipid soluble. So the majority of drugs cross membrane according to the lipid diffusion. Okay, once again, lipid diffusion is the most important mechanism for majority of drugs. Because most drugs is lipid soluble and they can cross the membrane very easily according to the lipid diffusion. Yeah. Now let's see what kind of drugs have a strong ability to cross membrane. First one, if this drug is more lipid soluble, it can cross the membrane very easily, and the diffusion is very quick, very rapid. You can see more lipid soluble of a drug and more rapid of the diffusion. So the first factor that influence the lipid diffusion is the lipid soluble. Next one, see here, the polarity. If a drug is non-ionized, it can become more lipid soluble, so cross the membrane more rapid. This is non-ionized. Yeah, you can see here. And if the drug have more ionized form, it will become more polar, so that makes the diffusion is more hard. So the second factor that influence the lipid diffusion is polarity. Yeah, maybe you can see it depends on most of the drug is ionized form or non-ionized form. Yeah, think about it. If a drug is non-ionized, it will become easier cross the membrane. Okay, this is about the lipid diffusion. And what drug is suitable for lipid diffusion? You can see here. Okay, next one, aqueous diffusion. Aqueous diffusion, because it's a water-soluble drug, so cannot directly cross the membrane. It can cross membrane through the water pore. So if lipid insoluble drug is very small, it will become easier to cross the membrane. So for the aqueous diffusion, we should to know the molecular weight of this drug. Yeah, molecular weight of this drug. If this drug is smaller, it easier cross the membrane via the pores. So here you can understand different drugs have different ability to cross the membrane. For lipid diffusion, we hope the drug have more lipid soluble, and maybe most of the drug is unionized form. That will make them easier cross membrane. And for the aqueous diffusion, we hope the drug is smaller. That will make it easier cross membrane. Okay, and this is about the simple diffusion. Do you have any question? Okay. Yeah, I think no question because no people reply me. I will go on to talk about next. Next one is the influence of pH on the simple diffusion. Here we have know it. It refers to the pH influence, but just for the simple diffusion, especially the lipid diffusion. You can see refers to the lipid diffusion. Yeah, only refers to it, not the aqueous diffusion and not the active transport. And for it, here I have a equation to describe the drug coming to our body and to ionized or unionized in the different pH environment. Okay, and to the pH, we have two type drugs. One is acid drugs, weak acid drugs. Another one is weak base drugs. And here, when these drugs coming to the circulation, coming to our body, it will A. And when drugs coming to the base environment, it will separate. Yeah, dissolved and give to the hydrogens and the A minus. This is the drug form. So it means weak acid drugs in the base environment, the major form is A minus, the ionized form. Okay, this is the first one I want to introduce that. Next one, for the base drugs. Base drug in the acid environment, it can bind the hydrogens and become to the ionized form. And when the drug come to the base environment, the major form is B. B is a molecular form, is a non-ionized form. Yeah, this is the base environment. So they have different ability to the different environment in the base environment and in the in the acid environment. And when they have some balance, it can get to a parameter that is Ka. You can see Ka. Yeah, it equal to different form to another form, and when they keep the balance, so we give the Ka. Okay, here I want to tell you is the conclusion. Let's see it. In acid, most acid drugs are unionized, and in the base, most acid drugs are ionized. In the acid, most base drugs are ionized, and in base, most basic drugs are unionized. Okay, for here, do you clear? Do you have questions about it? Okay, and here, if we have get this four conclusion, we can to get another conclusion. Okay, see here. This is for the pKa. Yeah, Ka. Ka is to the equation, is a parameter. And when the Ha is equal to the A minus, or the B is equal to the BH plus, you can see here. And for here, we just understand is when the drug is acid drug, yeah, weak acid drug, its pKa will less than 7. And when the environment become more acid, its pKa it will become more molecular form. But if this is a weak base drug, its pKa will larger than 7. Okay, this is the conclusion. And this is of pH, how to pH influence its ionized form to the unionized form. Yeah, you can see here. Because the pKa, this drug's pKa is 6, so when it gets to the pH 5 environment, it becomes more acid. Then the unionized form takes up to the 10, and the unionized form just 1. You can see here. When the pKa is 6, it means, yeah, maybe the Ha is equal to A minus. And when the pH is up to the 5, it means the unionized form is larger than the is larger than ionized form. But for some base, the 7 pH is 7. When it get to the a little base environment, the unionized form is smaller than the ionized form. So if you don't understand about why and how to calculate this equation, you just to understand the conclusion. That is what I tell you. Just to give you conclusion, the basic drugs in the basic environment, the major form is molecular form, the unionized form, and when a base drug in the base conclusion environment, it's also the majority of form is unionized. And the other conclusion, that is, when acid drug in the base environment, the majority form is ionized form. And when the base drug in the acid environment, the majority form is ionized form. So a little confusion. I think you need to understand the more clearly. And here, when we understand that, we can to know the clinical implication of pH influence on the simple diffusion, especially the lipid diffusion. Okay, see, for first one, absorption. Absorption means the drug will from the inside of administration, the inside of administration to the secretion. And for some drugs that to enter into our secretion by oral, the GI tract, gastrointestinal tract will in charge that. You can see here. When acid drugs, we give acid drugs, he will become largely unionized at the acid gastric pH and have a very good, very quick absorption from the stomach. And while the base drug are largely ionized in the acid drugs, so it have, I think, slower absorption in the stomach, but it have a very good absorption in, you can see, in the intestine. Okay, this is for the pH influence. pH, how pH influence different drugs diffusion. You can see here. So you can see acid drugs is very easier cross membrane in the acid environment. It means it have a very quick absorption in the stomach than in the intestine. But when we talk about the base drugs is easier. The base drug have a good absorption in the intestine than in the stomach, because base drug in the base environment, most of them have become unionized. Okay, this is for absorption. Next one, excretion. The major organ is kidney. You can see here, when acid drugs in the base urine, alkaline urine, it will become more ionized, and then we'll get a very strong reabsorption, because this action is very, very good. And reabsorption, when this action is become more strong, it means less drug will accreted by the kidney, because most of drugs can be reabsorbed from the tubular and to the secretion to the blood, so it have a get less accretion. Oh, sorry. Here, acid drugs in the alkaline urine, because have a less reabsorption, so have a very large amount accreted. Okay, And for the basic drugs, well, in the acid urine, most of the form is unionized, so can be accreted faster. Yeah, in the acid urine. So this is for accretion. This is for absorption. Okay, here, do you have any doubt of that? Any doubt? I think this is a little difficult. Okay, I think very good. You have a very good explanation. Yeah. Okay. So in the implications, you need to remember four sentence. I give one sentence to you to help you to understand more clear. Acid drugs in acid environment, like the stomach, like the acidified urine, it will become more molecular form, more unionized. So it will become easier cross membrane. It will get a very good absorption and a good reabsorption. So the urine, the acid drugs created less in the acid urine. So this is the first sentence, and I think you can help yourself to understand the next third sentence. Yeah, like the acid drugs in the basic environment, and the base drugs in the acid environment, base drugs in the basic environment. Okay, this is just the simple diffusion. Next one, let's to understand the passive transport, another type, the facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion, why we call it facilitated? Because this diffusion it will rely on a carrier. Yeah, this is a carrier-mediated transport. Yeah, the same to the simple diffusion is both of them are not rely on the energy, but the difference is the facilitated diffusion need the carrier. And for some necessary, the energy necessary, the ingredient, our body needs it very urgently. Although they can cross the membrane according to the concentration gradient, but our body still supplies them a carrier to help them to more quick to cross the membrane. So this we call what? The facilitated diffusion. Okay, this figure is to talk about the facilitated diffusion. You can here have some carrier to help this this diffusion from the high concentration to the low concentration. Yeah, this is facilitated. Next one, active transport. Very difficulty to the passive diffusion, and the most the difference I think is the energy, because this diffusion is not from the high concentration to the low concentration. It will from what? From the low concentration to high concentration. So our body will give this transport the carrier, and also will give them the energy. This we call active transport. So you can see active transport need what? Need energy, no doubt. And then need what? Need the carrier. Yeah, this we call active transport. And active transport can be classify it into two types. One is primary active transport, and next one is secondary active transport. What's the difference? Let's see it. Primary transport, the energy obtained directly by the hydrolysis of ATP. So ATP will be the direct energy to this transport. Yeah, directly. We call this primary. Yeah, primary active transport. And the immediate only the influx of the solute from the cytoplasm. Yeah, efflux from the cytoplasm. Maybe into some organelle, or maybe we'll go to the extracellular site. Okay, this is primary active transport. The energy is come from the ATP. Yeah, directly come to the ATP. Next one is secondary. Secondary active transport means the energy is not directly from the ATP, and the energy is from well, from another solute's energy. When another solute movement, it will produce energy, and this energy will help to the secondary active transport of another solute, of this solute, sorry. And according to the direction of these two substance, these two solute, the secondary active import can be have two types. One is import and one is antiport. Import means both of the two solute, these two substances, have a same direction, the same direction. And antiport means these two substances have the different direction. Yeah, you can see different, the opposite direction. One is same direction, one is opposite direction. You can see these two figures to help you to understand. Here, the subspeed movement will supply the energy. You can see came from the high concentration to the low concentration. Yeah, this is still from the high concentration to the low concentration. Yeah, this is the term. And then will produce the energy. After movement of substrate B, it will supply the energy. This energy will help substrate A from the low concentration to here, from the low concentration to the high concentration. Yeah, here is also right. From the low concentration operate. So we call the first figure is import. And the second figure, that is antiport. And both of them is a secondary active transport. The substrate A is movement, the energy to supply the movement that is come from the substrate B. So they call it the secondary. Okay, this is about the active transport. Active transport, let's review, have two types. One is primary active transport, and the next one is secondary active transport. Okay, now let's to compare the passive and active transport to understand more details. First one, let's see the passive transport. It will along the concentration gradient and no need the energy. And carrier, simple diffusion, no need a carrier. But for some facilitated, it need the carrier. Okay, next one. The passive transport have no the saturation phenomena and also have no the competition phenomena. But for the active transport, it will against the concentration gradient from the low concentration to the high concentration. That will need the energy and need the carrier. And because they rely on the carrier that's natural is a protein. So it exists the saturation phenomenon and the competition phenomenon. Okay, so maybe some students will ask me, what is the saturation phenomenon and what is the competition phenomenon? Saturation phenomenon means when a drug diffusion according to the carrier, it will come, and when we increase the dose of drug, that exists the maximum amount of carrier, and the left drug will become free. This we call what? Saturation phenomenon. And the competition phenomenon, it will need at least two drug. If these two drugs have the same carrier, it can compete each other. It will have the strong affinity of this drug it have a more strong to combine this carrier, and then we'll take out. We'll take out another drug that have binding to the same carrier. This we call what? Competition phenomenon. Okay, this is about the memory transport. We have to do some conclusion. Follow me to do the conclusion. First one, what's the difference of simple diffusion and facilitated diffusion? Okay, give me the answer. What's the difference? Okay, students still here? Still listen my voice? What's the difference of the simple diffusion and the facilitated diffusion? Hello? Okay, I give you answer. That is carrier. Yeah. Okay, next question. What's the difference of facilitated diffusion and active transport? Okay, the answer is first one, concentration gradient. Yeah, from low to high or from high to low. And next difference is energy. Okay, next one. The speed of memory transport depend on, first one, if this is the simple diffusion, it depends on the substance. Is lipid soluble or water soluble? Is unionized or ionized? And for active transport, it depends on the carrier. No rely on the substance. Yeah, no matter the substance is lipid soluble or lipid insoluble, but rely on the carrier. If you have enough carrier, it will become more easier. And the facilitated diffusion, both the drug and the carrier will influence the facilitated diffusion. Okay, next one. Let's do some exercise. First one, which PK process involves memory transport? Note here, you need to choose more than one choice. Need to choose more than one choice. Okay, which one have the memory transport? Okay, give me answer. Give me the answer. Which one involves memory transport? Okay, I give you answer. That is all. All the four process that involves memory transport. Okay, once again, all the four major process have the memory transport. Have memory transport. Or yeah, this is maybe you have got that. Yeah, before say something, I just to tell you all this process. Next one, which type of memory transport is the most important mechanism for majority drugs? Okay, this is single. Yeah, single choice. Which one? For majority drugs, the cross memory rely on what mechanism? Okay, the answer is B. Lipid diffusion. So for most of drugs, we just see the character of this substance. If this is lipid soluble, it can cross memory easily. So this is for majority of drugs. The lipid diffusion is most important. Okay, the last one. All the following statements are true except you should choose the false answer, the wrong answer. Which one is not correct? Okay, see the next one questions. Okay, let's see it. First one, the A choice. Absorption of weakly based drug is likely to occur faster from the intestine than from the stomach. Okay, this is right because this is a basic drug. Basic drug. I have said to you, basic drug have the molecular form in the base environment, then in the acid environment. So the absorption will become faster in the intestine than in the stomach. So you see right. The second one, acidification of the urine can accelerate the secretion of a weak base. Yeah, that's right. You can see here. Base drug in acid urine will become more ionized, the ionized form. So it's hard to cross memory. Will get a very weak reabsorption, and it will accelerate the secretion. So B is right. C. Uncharged molecular more readily cross the cell membrane than charged one. Uncharged means what? Means the molecular form. And charged means the ionized form. So unionized form can cross membrane very easier than ionized form. That's right. The last one, a drug, promethazine, is more ionized at the pH is equal to the 7 to 4 than at pH 2. Okay, first we want to understand pH is equal to the 7.4. This is compared to the 2. This is acid. You can see the pH 2 is acid environment, and here is more basic environment. And this one, because pKa is larger than 7, so this is basic drug. Basic drug is more organized in the acid environment. More ionized in the acid environment than in the basic drug, than in the basic environment. So D is wrong. D is wrong. So the choice is D. Is D. Clear? If clear, let's have a rest.